Philosophy and Education in the Eyes of John Henry Newman. Throughout history and the course of human existence, there have been many debates over the uses of religion and secular knowledge. Humanity has learned to adopt both religion and secular knowledge as a mode of explaining the underlying workings of the universe. However, the question still remains, which one is better in the realm of education? Which one allows for the advancement of education while also imparting logical information that fosters critical thinking within the student body? To answer this question, we must turn to the English philosopher Cardinal John Henry Newman. John Henry Newman was born on February 21st, 1801. He is notable for being a key leader in the Oxford movement, in which he sought to reform the Church of England by reviving Roman Catholic teachings. He went on to become a cardinal in the Roman Catholic Church. In addition to his religious involvement, he was also a philosopher who sought to uncover the underlying ideas behind the applications of secular knowledge and religion. His ideas regarding this matter transcended the fields of philosophy and education. In his essay, Secular Knowledge on a Principle of Action, Newman emphasizes that logicians cannot see the end of the process and that they are more focused on concluding rightly than forming right conclusions. Before we go any further, we must define what exactly Newman is referring to regarding a principle of action. According to Newman, a principle of action is a mode of reasoning which is used for the means of progression. Newman entails that logicians employ a methodical approach when deriving explanations for certain phenomena. As opposed to religion, which is primarily based on assumptions, secular knowledge rarely assumes information without empirical evidence. Newman proclaims that while secular knowledge is a method of reasoning that usually produces accurate information, the tediousness of the process results in these empirical methods being impractical as a principle of action. While Newman agrees that religion provides a more relevant principle of action than secular knowledge, he states that the ascendancy of faith is impractical. He states that the fundamentals of religion have never been a deduction of what we know, but rather an assertion of what we ought to believe. Newman is implying that the way in which religion is structured does not foster critical thinking. If Newman thinks that neither religion nor secular knowledge are practical as a principle of action, then what does he believe? To answer this question, we must examine his other works. For instance, in his book Grammar of Assent, Newman coins the phrase "illative sense," which he defines as the power of judging and concluding with reference to parallel faculties, which individuals are capable of recognizing without difficulty. Unlike secular knowledge, thinking in terms of the illative sense yields conclusions that are based on converging probabilities. Similar to religion, the illative sense is also based on assumptions. However, it formulates conclusions based on the most probable assumptions. After analyzing Newman's message in the Grammar of Assent, it becomes apparent that he believes the illative sense is a viable principle of action. To identify where the illative sense fits in with education, we must examine Newman's book, The Idea of a University. In this book, Newman believes that education is not just about the acquisition of facts, but also how those facts are connected in terms of reasoning. According to Newman, an individual who places an emphasis on the simple acquisition of facts rather than learning the connections and interpretations of those facts will exercise no volition over their knowledge. Therefore, their education is not meaningful. Although Newman claims that the illative sense is an unconscious phenomenon, he observes that by deliberating the process to thinking about probabilities, one will be able to apply the illative sense to education. John Henry Newman's philosophy transcends the fields of education and knowledge. In his essay, Secular Knowledge on a Principle of Action, Newman recognizes that neither religion nor secular knowledge would be practicable for institutions to educate individuals. According to Newman, religion does not foster critical thinking due to it being a declaration of reality where uncertainty ceases to exist. Moreover, while secular knowledge would be a principle of action that would produce accurate results, it would produce unlimited uncertainty which would not result in conclusions and only stall one's learning. Newman came up with the term the illative sense, which allowed one's learning to progress while producing sound judgment. He believed that the illative sense would produce accurate conclusions and it would foster a meaningful education.